warmly welcome the government's plans to ban social media for under-16s. However, when it comes to content promoting eating disorders, the risks do not simply disappear at 16. The eating disorder charity Beat recently pushed ChatGPT to stop generating restrictive meal plans altogether, which they did, so it is possible. Other platforms, however, have failed to act, with X still allowing users to search for harmful hashtags such as ProAnna and BoneSpo, and I apologise if that is triggering. Will the Minister work with me and the Eating Disorders APPG to ensure that platforms like X can no longer exploit mental ill health for engagement and profit?
Minister.
Well, can I first thank my honourable friend for championing an incredibly important cause. Content promoting eating disorder is horrific. And I have to be clear that platforms, not just at the age of 16, but under the Online Safety Act, platforms must already prevent children under the age of 18 from accessing content about eating disorders or self-harm content. Indeed, it is now a primary priority content offence as well, requiring a higher bar still to be discharged by those platforms. I will, of course, as ever, be delighted to work with him and the Eating Disorders APPG on his further proposals.
Zoe Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Secretary of State and the ministerial team for their really positive engagement with myself and colleagues across the House who have been working with bereaved families and the Molly Rose Foundation on the devastating impact of suicide forums. And I just want to follow on from the new crisis response protocol. My understanding is it's primarily designed for large-scale public safety events. Can the Secretary of State advise whether Ofcom will consider rapid response arrangements can be expanded to cover cases where the compelling evidence shows that content presents a risk in terms of suicide, so that platforms are expected to act with the same urgency to protect individual lives?
Sir?
Well, can I firstly pay tribute to families that I've personally met who have raised the Suicide Forum's issues that she is very rightly raising today as well. And I have committed to them in the past that we will continue to press for quicker remedies for them when they suffer the worst tragedies possibly imaginable. I and the Secretary of State will, of course, be delighted to look at whether there are ways in which we can make that a more systematic rapid response.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker. Question number 5, please.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I draw the House's attention to my register of interest? I'm very proud that this Labour government has committed a record £86 billion towards R&D, including astronomy, space science and others, to supercharge innovation. Within that, UKRI's Science and Technology Facilities Council, the main funder of particle physics, astronomy and nuclear physics, has a stable budget with increasing investment in research areas that lead and underpin discovery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister for his answer. My Oxfordshire constituency is home to Harwell Campus, the UK's largest concentration of space and science organisations. Yet, despite what the Minister said about the budget, the need for £162 million of savings by 2030 imposed on the Science and Technology Facilities Council risks jobs and critical research equipment, undermining our global science leadership. So does the Minister share those concerns, and what steps will he take to protect scientific jobs and facilities?
Mr. Speaker, can I pay tribute to the honourable gentleman and also everyone at the Harwell campus who hosts over £1 billion of world-leading research infrastructure. There has been a lot of concerns raised by the physics community about this particular issue. I can confirm that funding for STFC has not been cut. UKRI has decided that STFC's core budget should be maintained over the spending review period. Of course, we understand the cost pressures through inflation, foreign exchange and the ambitious commitments that were made from the previous spending review. No final decisions are being made, but STFC are working through that with the community at this moment in time.
Particle physics and astronomy have had a rough deal, Mr. Speaker, since P-Part was abolished about 19 years ago. I understand that the justification being put out, certainly by the Science Minister and other ministers, is there is a change to mission-driven research as opposed to fundamental blue skies research. This is a mistake. Most practical applications of science have come from scientists asking fundamental questions that have no relevance at the time. Doesn't he agree and that the policy is a mistake?
Mr. Speaker, I don't agree with my honourable friend with regards to the policy. We're putting £86 billion into R&D, including astronomy and space science. That's £38 billion for UKI, a record amount to UKRI. Of that, of course, £14.5 billion is on curiosity research, because we know that there is no route to stronger growth in this country without significant investment by science, innovation and tech.
Joanna Baxter.
Question number 6, please, Mr. Speaker. Our economy loses around £3.5 billion a year because women leave the tech sector or change jobs due to barriers that should not exist. That's bad for women and the tech sector. because it loses out on their skills, talent and experience. It's why our Women in Tech Task Force is addressing the systematic barriers that prevent women from entering, progressing and leading this vital sector.
Baxter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Evidence suggests that AI tools used in recruitment favour male names at almost 5 times more often than female names, and AI models built to predict liver disease are twice as likely to miss the disease in women. So does my right honourable friend agree that unless we have women shaping this technology, it will continue not to deliver for women? And can she outline the government plans to address those biases whilst encouraging more women in Paisley and Renfrewshire South to join the sector?
Yeah, she's absolutely right. The bias in technology highlights why we need more women building it. We want more women in tech and more tech that works for women. That's exactly why we launched the Women in Tech Task Force. We're going to publish the results of its call for evidence next week. We've had a fantastic response, but we're not waiting to take action. We're launching a new Tech First Girls programme for 12 and 13-year-olds, a programme to help advance women's careers by giving them minimum 6-month placements, and we're putting our own house in order by making sure government departments like the MOJ and Home Office actually help software developers return to work after 18 months.
James Shannon.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much for her answer to the question of the Honourable lady put forward. Already, Minister, some companies are setting aside a number of places, a quota of ladies for the jobs that they hope to introduce women to. Does the Honourable lady and the Minister in particular think it's time to set a quota for companies? We recognise some of the good work that companies do, but maybe a quota for places for ladies might just ensure that many companies might be persuaded to go the extra mile.
I actually think the most effective way to get change is to show the results, which is the women who produce the brilliant science and the brilliant technology that helps get those innovations and bring in the cash. You know, women founders of tech companies only get 2p in every pound in VC funding, yet on average they present 35% higher returns. If you want better science and tech and a better economy, you better get more women on board.
We come to Topicals. Helen Morgan.
Mr. Speaker.
If I may briefly, Mr. Speaker, I am very proud that today I am launching our Charter for Women in Research, setting out minimum standards for maternity pay and leave for women doing PhDs in this country, alongside leave for their partners, adoption leave, leave for baby loss and pregnancy-related sickness too. More than 64 organisations have already signed up. This is crucial for women and for the quality of science and tech and our country, because Britain only succeeds when we make the most of all our talents.
Helen Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the Digital Communities APPG, which I chair, we often hear from mobile network operators that one of the reasons they don't serve rural areas properly is that they can't get planning permission. But in Shropshire, the council have given planning permission to 3 specific sites to a passive infrastructure provider, and they still can't get the mobile network operators to put their equipment on their masts. So what can the Secretary of State do to ensure that mobile network operators give my constituents the coverage that they are paying for?
Secretary of State.
I know she's really concerned about making sure they've got the proper network coverage. We do encourage mobile network operators to use existing infrastructure where they can, but I'm more than happy to arrange a meeting with my right honourable friend to get the progress the people of North Shropshire need and deserve.
Mitchell Maskell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Broadcasting, Entertainment and Arts Union, APPG, heard deeply concerning evidence from writers, from journalists, musicians and performers that their work is being scraped, ripped off, stolen by sophisticated AI models for training purposes. So when will the Secretary of State introduce laws to protect the creative industries, and will she meet with the APPG and unions to discuss this further?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I thank my honourable friend for raising this critical question for Britain's creative sector. Just yesterday on British IP Day, I met with the Alliance for IP, including both artists, authors, publishers, journalists, media organisations, to talk about how our work on digital replicas and transparency will be critical to supporting the creative sector. I'd be delighted to meet with her and the APPG.
Secretary of State Julia Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Professor Brian Cox is among the eminent scientists warning about the impact of government cuts to research on advanced physics and astronomy, a move he calls inexplicable. Meanwhile, the government is spending millions on projects examining climate coloniality, decolonising justice, and transforming LGBTIQ+ asylum policy. Are these the Secretary of State's research priorities too? And if not, has she made crystal clear to UKRI?
Secretary of State.
I'm sorry to put the right honourable lady straight, but we're not cutting money for that. We're actually putting the biggest ever funding for research and development ever in this country, something I am especially proud of. And we are protecting both curiosity-led research and also making sure we focus on the key priorities of this country, because we know there's no route to stronger growth or better answers and innovations without science and technology at its...
Julia Lopez.
I think the Secretary of State just said that the eminent professors are wrong. But aside from research spend, one of the core reasons for those budgetary pressures in physics is the ruinous cost of energy under Labour. It's ideology in research spend, it's ideology in energy policy. In March, the Secretary of State said we need to sort out the problems facing physics funding as soon as possible. It's now July. Has she lobbied the Energy Secretary to stop him driving up the core costs of our critical scientific research institutions?
May I say gently to the right honourable lady that we are dealing with the mess that we inherited from members opposite, by making sure that this country can rely on clean, renewable, homegrown energy right here in Britain. It's why we are driving the technological revolution in AI, in our AI growth zones in Wales, through 3 small modular nuclear reactors. It's why this country has had more VC funding in our AI startups just this year than the whole of the rest of Europe. We are driving forward change to make sure this country can succeed.
Jack Abbott.
Speaker, I recently visited Northgate High School in Ipswich with the Children's Commissioner, and as ever the pupils were thoughtful and articulate about what they needed for the future. But the subject of digital and AI came up a lot, and they said they need greater access to public services but also skilling up for future employment as well. So can the Minister outline what the government are doing to make sure they can access these public services as well as the important digital and AI skills they do desperately need?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government is boosting digital and AI skills by embedding media literacy across all key stages, including introducing an AI-inclusive computing GCSE and a £20 million Early Careers Jobs Alliance. We will ensure digital inclusion as fundamental as the government works to develop digital access to public services through digital ID, and these measures will support children and all people to access public services when they need them, personalised, joined up and less faff.
Good luck, England. Can I welcome the government's commitment to introducing a social media ban for the under-16s, followed by repeated calls from our side of the House? Can the Minister outline what steps the government will take to ensure that the enforcement of such a ban is robust enough to prevent children from bypassing it through the use of mechanisms such as VPNs, which themselves expose young people to additional risks?
The honourable gentleman makes an extremely important point, which is we know children will try and succeed in getting round the ban. Our measures are as much about resetting the cultural and social norms for future generations, but we will have more highly effective age verification measures to make this work, and we are looking at the issue in particular of VPNs, and I'll come back to the House with more on this very soon.
Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, may I extend a warm welcome to the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Trinidad and Tobago and his delegation, who are in the gallery today. We now come to questions to the Prime Minister. Dr. Al Pinkerton.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House, are with the people of Venezuela. the scenes of destruction are simply harrowing. Mr. Speaker, we've committed humanitarian funding, deployed expert search and rescue teams, and I can announce today that we will match public donations up to £2 million on aid. Mr. Speaker, in an increasingly dangerous and volatile world, our defence investment plan commits more to investment on our armed forces. It delivers the modern kit and capabilities our personnel need to keep us safe, meaning we buy British to create jobs here at home and strengthen our international leadership. Mr. Speaker, Sunday marks the 78th birthday of the NHS, and I'm pleased that under this government waiting lists are down, A&E waits are shorter, and we have the shortest cancer diagnosis times on record. I also welcome the agreement reached with the resident doctors to end the strikes, so our full focus can be delivering further improvements for patients. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Dr Elpington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with both the condolences and also birthday good wishes to the NHS? Everyone in my constituency of Surrey Heath wants a new Frimley Park hospital, but the chosen site, the last remaining fragment of the ancient Frimley Common, is wholly inappropriate. It's inaccessible, behind multiple schools, and environmentally devastating. But worse, over recent weeks, I've received deeply troubling evidence that the preferred relocation site was known and being openly discussed by local political figures in 2023 before the official site selection process had even begun. The entirely reasonable conclusion, Mr. Speaker, is that this project has been compromised from the outset and the site predetermined. I think the Prime Minister would agree that this is no way to begin a multi-billion-pound public procurement process. So would the Prime Minister please step in? Would the Prime Minister please step in, commission an urgent independent review?
I think the Prime Minister's got the question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, his NHS Trust has identified their preferred site for the new Frimley Park Hospital, and detailed technical work can now start. And let's be frank about this hospital. The Tories promised 40 new hospitals with no funding and no delivery plan, and we've had to fix that. His hospital, thanks to Labour investment, is at the front of the queue. It will be one of the first in the country to be rebuilt. But his approach, Mr. Speaker, has been, on the one hand, to demand a new hospital and then oppose actually building it. He's urged his constituents to oppose it because, quote, this is his quote, if the hospital goes ahead, there will be no golf course. So, Labour building new hospitals, he's standing up for golf courses. I can't think of anything more Lib Dem.
Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A good, safe and secure home is the foundation of everything, and access to a council home at social rent continues to be the biggest issue that my Luton South and South Bedfordshire constituents get in touch with me about. But under this Labour government, in 24-25, councils delivered the highest annual number of social and affordable homes since 1991-92. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that we must build on this achievement and accelerate progress on council house building to ensure we deliver the biggest council housing programme since the post-war era?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that this government is delivering the biggest boost to social and affordable housing in a generation. Backed by £39 billion, it means we're unleashing the biggest surge in council house building in over 30 years, and that includes 1,000 new sociable and affordable homes in Luton and Bedfordshire. And our social housing bill will reform Right to Buy to deliver even more social houses. A Labour government delivering the homes that we need.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Bey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I associate myself and this side of the House with the Prime Minister's comments about Venezuela and also about the Lib Dems? Mr. Speaker. But seriously, Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Defence Staff made it known that the armed forces needed a minimum of £28 billion more to defend the country. Can the Prime Minister tell us why he thinks half that amount is enough.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud that this Labour government has delivered 2 major funding increases in just 2 years in government. The first, which was funded by overseas aid, took us to £270 billion over the spending review period. Mr. Speaker, that is a record. The Defence Investment Plan gives us capability we need for the future. That sets a new record, Mr. Speaker, of £300 billion over the next 4 years. That will be invested in drones and autonomous weapons, the largest ever investment, strengthening the UK's nuclear capability, upgrading our naval bases in the most significant way for 45 years, and confirming our commitment to the next generation of fighter jets. That is what is needed to keep our country safe.
Mr. Speaker, he didn't say that it was enough, and that was a very long list of things that he's not yet paying for. It is not right and it is not fair, certainly not to our troops who put their lives on the line for all of us every single day. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, 3 weeks ago, the Defence Secretary resigned, saying, "I am being forced to make decisions that would increase the risk to personnel on operations and could make the country less safe." Since that letter, the Prime Minister has only increased spending by 0.01%. We can count, the generals can count, the Kremlin can count. His plan doesn't add up. How can the Prime Minister possibly stand there and say that this is enough?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is the most significant upgrade in defence spending since the 1980s. The Chief of Defence Staff has been clear that the plan accelerates the transformation we need for our armed forces. The First Sea Lord, it funds the capability we need to fight and win. The Chief Air Staff strengthens our contribution to NATO, and she must have missed that yesterday the Secretary-General of NATO welcomed the plan. All people who know what's in the plan and welcome it. Contrast that, Mr. Speaker, with their record in government, because they hollowed out the armed forces. Their record is cutting defence spending. My record is raising it to £300 billion and rising. Their record is cutting frigates by a quarter, cutting mine hunters by a half, and leaving 47 of 49 defence programmes delayed or over budget. My record is the biggest boost to defence investment since the 1980s. Their record is missing army recruitment targets every year for 14 years. We've given our armed force the biggest pay rise for 20 years and increased defence funding by £15 billion a year. That's a record I'm proud to stand on.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Defence Staff is an honourable man, and what he and the NATO Secretary-General have done is welcome the fact that a plan has been published. Just that it's been published. They've been waiting for over a year. Strategic Defence Review was last year. He is an honourable man, Mr. Speaker, who is having to make do with very little. The threat level has dramatically changed in the 2 years that the Prime Minister has been in office. Poland, since the Prime Minister took office, Poland has increased their funding to 4.8%. Germany has increased theirs to 3.7%. This year, Russia will spend 10% of GDP on defence. Meanwhile, Britain is spending it all on welfare. Even the limited plan that he has announced has completely unravelled because he hasn't found the money to pay for it. It is £5 billion short. We all know that he is leaving this mess to his successor. So can he confirm that the member for Makerfield has agreed to fund the shortfall?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what they did was to cut defence spending. When they came into power, defence spending was 2.5%. What did they do? They cut it to 2.3%, a cut. And on welfare, what did they do? They put it up by £88 billion. So we'll take no lectures from them about either welfare or defence. This is £15 billion of new investment for defence, delivered outside of a budget, outside of a spending review. Mr. Speaker, that's about £1 billion a year over 4 years. Because of the decisions at the last budget, we've got headroom of £22 billion. That is precisely so we can take decisions like this. We delivered it outside a budget, outside a spending review. Just like we did with the special educational needs, outside a budget, outside a spending review. Just like the previous government did, Mr. Speaker, when they announced their 5-year NHS plan in 2018, outside a budget, outside a spending review. And what did they say when they were challenged about it, Mr. Speaker? I'll quote. We will be able to explain exactly where every penny is coming from, but we will do that in the budget. That was the former Health Secretary, then the Chancellor. When they published their Integrated Defence Review in 2020, what did they do? They set out the funding at the next spending review. So let's drop the faux outrage, focus on what matters, the biggest sustained increase for 40 years, the biggest increase for 45 years, providing what is needed to keep the country safe.
Mr. Speaker, he says that he's delivering this outside the budget. That's right, it should have been in the last budget. The Strategic Defence Review was published last year. It should have been in the last budget, not the next budget. The intelligence assessment that he himself has said we have says there could be an attack on NATO by 2030. But this plan doesn't deliver until after that. £5 billion is missing from his plan. It also relies on £11 billion of unidentified savings. The plan has unravelled. It is a total dereliction of duty, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. The Times newspaper said today the Prime Minister's legacy... well, why don't we wait and see what they said? That the Prime Minister's legacy is betrayal, failure and vulnerability, and that's one of the nicer headlines. So I will ask again, because he didn't answer the question, Mr. Speaker, did the member for Makerfield know that he was going to have to find £5 billion for the Prime Minister's plan?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, when I became Prime Minister 2 years ago, this country spent £54 billion a year on defence. Because of the decisions we've taken, that will rise to £80 billion a year by 2029. That is a real terms increase of 27%, transforming our armed forces. And we're not going to take any lectures from the party opposite. They cut defence spending. They hollowed out the armed forces. That's what their Defence Secretary admitted that's what they did. They don't like it. They won't defend their record, Mr. Speaker, because they can't. They won't apologise for it, because they have to admit what we all know, it's a total failure. They just try to pretend the 14 years they were in power never really happened. We're in power, we've record investment in defence and security. I'm proud of this Labour government, and any Labour Prime Minister would stand behind this plan.
It doesn't sound like he's told the member for Makerfield to find £5 billion. He says any Labour Prime Minister would stand behind this plan. Let me tell him what Lord Richard Dannett, the former head of the Army, said yesterday. He said the Prime Minister had chosen the cheap option and called the plan woefully inadequate. Let me tell him what General Sir Richard Barrons, one of the authors of his own Strategic Defence Review, said yesterday. We are simply not going to be ready to defend this country properly. That's what they're saying. The reason that he is in this mess is because he was too weak to cut welfare when he had the chance. There are only three ways, Mr. Speaker, to find the missing £5 billion. Increase borrowing, increase taxes, or cut welfare. Which one will he recommend to the member for Makerfield?
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about £1 billion a year over 4 years. The decisions at the last budget gave us more than £22 billion in headroom, so we can take the decisions that they don't understand this because they trashed the old. We built a headroom of £22 billion. The very reason for the headroom is to have the credibility to take decisions outside the budget and outside the spending review. They don't understand it because they lost control of the public finances. In addition to more on defence and security, we've taken control of the public finances. That's why you have headroom to take credible decisions like this. £1 billion a year over 4 years, headroom of £22 billion because of the decisions we took at the last budget, which allow us to take these decisions.
Mr. Speaker, we understand it perfectly, and that's why, yes we do, that's why he is leaving and so is his Chancellor. They're laughing and pretending, but if he was doing such a fabulous job, why did he resign? Mr. Speaker, defence of the realm is the first duty of government. Yes, it is the first duty of government. I don't need to read again what General Sir Richard Barrons or Lord Richard Dannett said. Maybe they didn't hear it the first time. They can re-watch the clips. But defence of the realm, Mr. Speaker, is the first duty of government. Britain is facing a moment of danger unlike anything in our lifetimes, unlike anything that we saw even in government. We need a plan to fund our armed forces that meets this moment. They are the government for now, not for 10 years ago. And the fact is, Labour's plan is too weak, it is too little, and it is too late. If his successor doesn't want to be complicit in this failure, he should come out and condemn this plan. The money must be found, Mr. Speaker, and that money should come from cutting welfare, something these Labour MPs will not do. And if the Labour Party cannot defend our country, Mr. Speaker, what is the point of them?
It's just all talk. What did they actually do? They cut defence, 2.5% down to 2.3% in their 14 long years. And what did on welfare? They put the bill up by £88 billion. So no lectures from them. They failed in the first duty of government. And they won't defend their record, will they? They won't stand here and defend it because they know that never do they stand here and defend their record because they can't. 14 years of failure. They don't get up and apologise, which is what they should do, because they would admit what we all know how much they failed. So they just sit there pretending it didn't happen. Well, it did happen. You hollowed out the armed forces. We're correcting you. And I tell you what else, when we came into power, public services were on their knees. Today, we've seen the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years. When I became Prime Minister, we inherited a broken economy. Today, we're outperforming the other G7 economies. When I became Prime Minister, our international alliances have been shredded. Now other countries are looking to us to lead on defence and security, foundations of a stronger and fairer country. Britain in a better state than we found it. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Two of my constituents, Cody and Liam Townend, and another mum from Leeds, Zoe Ward, all lost babies in different tragic circumstances. But they all went to the same funeral director who did not treat their babies' bodies with the dignity, care or respect that they deserved. I will not repeat the shocking details here. The BBC, for their part, published what they could last year. But more shockingly still, the police found nothing actionable in either case because there is no regulation of the funeral industry, and the individual in question is still operating in Leeds today. Given that the Department of Health and Social Care are due to make a decision about changing the law in this area, possibly before he leaves office, will the Prime Minister speak with ministers and officials in that department to ensure that when they consider the question of whether to regulate the funeral industry, their answer is yes?
Can I thank him for raising this case and thank him? He's been a committed campaigner on this. I have seen the details of the particular case. He's right not to repeat them in this chamber. They are horrifying. The lack of dignity and compassion is unacceptable, and I simply can't imagine the pain that Cody, Liam and Zoe experienced and are still experiencing. The status quo here is not working for families. And people deserve to know that their loved ones are treated with dignity and compassion. We are going to consider this closely, and I thank him for raising it. I do want stronger standards and oversight. I think that's absolutely needed, particularly in light of appalling cases like this.
Sir Ed Davey, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I not associate myself with the Prime Minister's comments about my party? But can I associate myself with all his remarks about the earthquake and humanitarian catastrophe in Venezuela? And can I commend the Scottish team and the Scottish fans on the joy they brought to the World Cup? They did the whole of Scotland proud. And can I wish England well against DR Congo later today? But with Rhys James and Gerald Quansah in doubt, I know the Prime Minister isn't the only one struggling for a solid defence plan. Mr. Speaker, the wars in Ukraine and Iran show us how seriously we must take the threat of missiles and drones hitting our country. Our national security requires the best possible missile defence system, including Royal Navy destroyers. But the funding in his plan for this falls dangerously short. Yet the Prime Minister has rejected our proposals for defence bonds, which were used in the past to rearm our country. So can the Prime Minister tell us why has he chosen to leave our country so vulnerable to missile attack?
Prime Minister.
Can I first join him on his comments about the Scotland team, the Scotland fans, and wish England well. I'm not sure about his gag. He was getting a bit better the other week, but he's gone back down. I'm afraid that one is a red card. But, Mr. Speaker, our defence investment plan gives our country what we need to fight now and into the future, the capability that's been assessed through the strategic review. Bonds, which we looked at very closely, are simply borrowing by another name, and we are already borrowing in a way which requires us to spend £1 in every 10 on servicing the interest on that. And I would gently point out, before he carries on with any criticism of our plan, that he sat in a cabinet that cut defence spending by 22%.
The Prime Minister knows that our defence bonds are within his own fiscal rules, that he's had advice from his own team that he should adopt them, and I hope the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield will listen. But, Mr. Speaker, I have another concern that I think the Prime Minister will share. The rising tide of racist violence and hate that we're seeing in our country, and the way it is being incited and normalised, including, I'm afraid, by some members of this House. I was talking to a British friend of Indian ancestry who told me how reform activists came to her door and said that if they get into power, she and her family will have their passports seized and their citizenship revoked. Does the Prime Minister agree that racism has no place in our country? And will he join me in condemning anyone who is stoking it?
Can I thank him for raising this? It is really important because our politics is becoming more diverse and racism and intolerance is permeating everywhere. And we have to deal with it. Because it's tearing our societies apart. It is keeping good people away from politics because they don't want to be involved in it. And it should be called out by every single person who's a politician at any level in this country. But, Mr. Speaker, I say this looking at the plaque to Joe Cox, and of course we've got David Amos behind me too. We had a Joe Cox 10-year reminder that it was 10 years ago, just a week or so ago, that we lost Joe. And I had a reception in Downing Street with her parents and other close friends and relatives of hers. We read out the words of Joe again. The very sad thing is, I was not able to say that in the 10 years since Joe's death, things have got better, because sadly, they've got worse. That's on us to fix, all of us to fix, every single member of this House, whatever their party in. And anybody who flames it should be absolutely ashamed of themselves.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the comments of the Prime Minister about the legacy of Joe Cox? I know all of us in this place have been following the contest for number 10 quite closely in recent weeks, but amid the North versus South debate, I think it's about time we had someone from the Midlands who was ready to step into this important position for our country. So I'm delighted to say we had two fantastic Black Country lads, Jude Bellingham from Stourbridge and Morgan Rogers from Halesowen, who have both been doing us proud in the contested England number 10 role against our game for Congo this evening. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that we should congratulate England on their progress out of the group stage so far? And does he also agree with me that we need to do more to support
Prime Minister?
I thought the next few weeks were about to get quite interesting, Mr. Speaker, but can I... Look, we do all wish England the best of luck this evening, and every time those players step on the pitch, they represent the talent, ambition and diversity of this country. We're proud to be supporting the next generation, investing £400 million into grassroots facilities and over £1 billion in school sports. And if Thomas Tuchel needs any advice on penalties, he should ask David Seaman, who slotted one past him just a few weeks ago.
Dave Dougal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
gravely concerned. I am gravely concerned that time after time, this Prime Minister, in response to the abject and honest criticism of his defence investment plan, he cites recent trends in defence spending when he should be calibrating it against the chronic and very real threat that the people on these islands face. In his limited time left in number 10, will he get a grip of his paper-thin plan?
Prime Minister.
This is the party that thinks we should give up the nuclear deterrent. And he stands there to talk about defence. So we need no more advice and sanctimonious nonsense from the NSP. Before he or any of them give any more advice to me or this House, let's have some home truths. Their chief executive has just been jailed for 5 years for embezzlement. They're all pretending they didn't know anything about it. They couldn't even see the motorhome parked in the driveway, apparently. And now they're blocking inquiry into the Scottish Parliament. Before they offer any more advice, they should look in the mirror.
There's another question, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this increasingly dangerous world, the space domain is critical. So I welcome the £3.2 billion set out for space in the Defence Investment Plan. The plan refers to Skynet 6A, the first military satellite to be designed, manufactured and tested completely in the UK, beginning at Airbus in my constituency of Stevenage and supporting 3,000 jobs across the country. So, does the Prime Minister agree that we must develop both the UK's sovereign capability in space and the British jobs that already power it?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him? And our commitment to space in the Defence Investment Plan reflects how we're preparing our armed forces for the conflicts of the future. And when I see apprentices working in our defence industries, I see this investment creating the more opportunities, including those in many of our constituencies, including his. It underlines exactly what our investment delivers, Mr. Speaker. That's 60,000 new jobs, investing in British skills, promoting our brilliant industries abroad and driving growth in the UK.
Taylor.
Mr. Speaker, on Monday with colleagues I wrote to the Health Minister following the news that women's health and maternity services may be relocated away from St Helier Hospital due to building safety concerns. Yesterday we heard Baroness Amos's review state that poorly maintained buildings affect how safe people feel, how effectively staff can work, and whether care can be delivered in a way that is private, respectful and reliable. It has been reported today that DHSC's capital budget will be cut by more than £500 million over this Parliament to fund the DIP, which puts the new hospital programme timeline in doubt. So, will the Prime Minister arrange for the Health Secretary to visit St Helier Hospital with me to see its condition and hopefully agree to bring forward the build of the new Sutton Sech, build it today, not in 2034, to ensure safe and modern healthcare and maternity facilities for my constituents?
Prime Minister.
Well, in relation to his hospital, he knows that those decisions are taken at a local level based on expert advice. We are committed to prioritising women's health as we reform the NHS, including through our women's health strategy. In his area alone, we're investing £57 million to transform care. That's money that we provided at the budget. He actually voted against it, along with the rest of the Lib Dems at the budget. So they can't, on the one hand, complain about the lack of investment. Then we put the money forward, they vote against it. That, again, is very Lib Dem.
Michelle Welsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Donna Ockenden review and the Baroness Amos review has exposed some very uncomfortable truths. That justice is not brought about by a system, a law, a protocol, a regulatory authority or NHS England, but by bereaved and harmed families, having to speak up over and over again about the most horrific and traumatic experience of their lives just to be heard. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that the system is not only failing, but it is cruel? And if we are to restore public trust, then we must finally introduce Hillsborough law in full, so that families can get the justice and accountability they need and deserve.
Can I thank her for raising this? Baroness Amos's findings show a deeply disturbing picture, deep fragmentation and an overly complex system. Women and families not being listened to, no proper accountability, and discrimination is driving inequalities in treatment and outcome. We will deliver the change that is needed. We will look at the urgent recommendations and deliver those of Baroness Amos as well as those of Donna Ockenden. And can I thank her for leading from the front as the first maternity advisor, working with families and the NHS to deliver safer, better care for every mother and baby. And can I say that I know her son Billy would be very proud of her.
Yeah. Sir Desmond Swing.
Mr. Speaker, through omission or insufficient advice, injured veterans may fail to place their compensation in a trust within the 1 year allowed by universal credit. Can discretion be had in compassionate cases?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank the right honourable gentleman. I'm enjoying our weekly exchanges. Every veteran who served in our country, and I thank him for raising this because it is a really important point, should be looked after and better able to access any compensation they're entitled to. We have dedicated pathways for veterans in every job centre to provide support with benefit claims and complex cases. But I can assure him and reassure him that anyone coming forward will get tailored support and we'll seek to resolve any issues swiftly and fairly to see whether we can improve on that. If he's got any specific cases, or other members have, if he could pass, or others pass the details to us, we will look at them. I noticed that BBC reported his question last week, him saying it would almost certainly be his last to me as Prime Minister. A reminder, you shouldn't always believe everything you read in the news. I look forward to seeing him at the same place, same time next week.
Catherine West.
Mr. Speaker, could I thank the Prime Minister for his calm and authoritative leadership in international affairs, and could I also thank the UK missions abroad who have enormous respect for him, and could I also ask him to put on record his thanks to the security, diplomatic and international aid workforce who work day and night on behalf of the UK abroad. And closer to home, Mr. Speaker, could I also, as a fellow North Londoner, say, despite the heat waves, North London forever, regardless of the weather.
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank. She's someone who always speaks her mind, and I join her in thanking our people. I'm proud that during my tenure we've delivered 5 major trade deals. We've led the coalition of the willing to support Ukraine and strengthened the NATO alliance, built stronger partnerships with the EU and kept us out of the war in Iran. And can I thank her for her contribution that she made as Foreign Office Minister.
Joshua Reynolds.
Speaker. Yesterday, the Prime Minister visited Maidenhead to announce his new defence investment plan. However, as we now know, he's leading it to his successor to decide how to fund the majority of it. We cannot fund our armed forces without growth, and we cannot get growth in Britain without the red tape that British businesses are having be dismantled, as well as trading closer with our closest neighbours. So will the Prime Minister agree that a new growth and defence partnership with Europe is how we can properly fund our forces, and will he urge his successor to jot Labour's red lines to get it done?
Prime Minister.
Well, he obviously didn't pay so much attention as he should to what I was saying yesterday in terms of the plan, the capability, the record investment that we're putting in and how we're funding it. I do agree we need to work more closely with the EU on defence and security as well as trade and the economy. That's precisely what we agreed at the EU-UK summit last year, and we've been building on that. And I'm proud to say in the last 2 years, the relationship between the UK and the EU has been transformed into a much better, trusted relationship. It is very important, as Prime Minister, that I leave the country in better state than I found it, and I do.
Sarah Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Carly Mellor, an NHS dentist in my constituency, spoke to me recently, and I quote, "Ministers pledged to fix the failed contract we worked to within this Parliament. The government has begun discussions on a new contract and promised a public consultation on it this summer. A typical dentist delivering NHS care does so at a loss. With every passing month, more practices are reconsidering their future in the NHS, while millions of patients continue to struggle to access care. Reforming the contract is the route to better treatment for my constituents. Please can we start the consultation without delay?"
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising this? I'm pleased that we've delivered over 1.8 million additional courses of NHS treatment, because no one needing urgent care should be left in pain and waiting for help. Mr Speaker, we've already made early reforms, including embedding urgent care into the contract so people get fast access to NHS care, and delivering the first sustained expansion of dental school places in nearly 20 years to get extra dentists trained. We will consult on a reformed dental contract soon, and I'll make sure that ministers update my honourable friend.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In Ashfield, 4 workers, including 2 nurses, were kicked out of their HMO, and Serco put 4 illegal migrants in this HMO. One of these illegal migrants was a Pakistani national. He went on to rape a young girl, a vulnerable young girl, on a park in Ashfield. He's now doing 14 years in prison. This was a monster allowed into this country by this awful government. But if the Prime Minister is really serious about protecting young women and girls, does he agree with me and Reform UK that every single illegal migrant coming to this country should be detained, not allowed to claim asylum and then deported?
Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I'm very proud of the fact that after net migration reached almost 1 million under the party opposite, we brought it down by 82%. On the asylum system, which he references, now asylum decisions are made at record levels, the backlog is down, removals are up 41%, and we're closing asylum hotels. They lost control of our borders. Now small boat crossings are coming down, and we deported 70,000 people with no right to be here. He likes to ask questions. He should be asking some questions of the leader of his party sitting next to him. He received £5 million in crypto from a crypto billionaire, and then privately lobbied the Bank of England on digital currencies. So did their leader carry out lobbying paid? Why did he keep his £5 million gift secret? And are they happy with their leader earning £20,000 an hour flogging gold bullion? They need to ask the questions across their benches, but they never do.
Lewis Atkinson.
Mr Speaker, too many people are waiting too long for NHS mental health care, with over 6,000 adults waiting up to 2 years. In Sunderland, grassroots organisations like the wonderful Betsy Jenny Cafe are providing support to our community, but they cannot substitute for timely NHS-funded care. So as the government consults on its new mental health strategy, will the Prime Minister agree with me that it must include clear waiting time standards?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him, and we're determined to transform mental health so everyone gets the support they need. Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to say that we've recruited 8,700 extra mental health workers. We've opened the first of 6 24/7 neighbourhood mental health centres, and we're ensured that nearly 800,000 more children and young people have access to a mental health support team in their school or college. There is more to be done, but this is a real step forward.
Cole Lockhart.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last week in Northern Ireland, a former member of this House was convicted for the most horrific child sexual abuse against 2 girls. I want to commend the victims for their extraordinary bravery in coming forward. It was their courage secured a conviction, and I have no doubt that their resolve will help others find their voice. No matter an abuser's power or status, there can be no hiding place for someone who would take the safety or would steal the innocence of young children. Mr Speaker, thousands of vulnerable young women in Rotherham, Oldham and across the UK were subjected to organised child sexual abuse and exploitation. In many cases, it was Pakistani heritage grooming gangs responsible, while institutions looked the other way. Before leaving office, the Prime Minister has the ability and opportunity to leave a legacy. Will he ensure that the promised statutory rape gang inquiry is delivered so the truth can finally be told, and that those responsible are held to account, and that no child's safety is ever sacrificed ever again for racial sensitivities?
Minister.
Can I thank her for raising the case in Belfast that concluded last week, and, like her, salute the courage of the victims to come forward. It must have taken extraordinary courage. It does in every single one of these cases, but particularly when you've got powerful people and institutions, it takes even more courage to do so. And so we salute them for their own acts, but also because it will, I hope, have helped others to see that if you do come forward, you will be believed and justice can be done, notwithstanding the difficulties. On grooming, we have set up the inquiry, and it's very important it goes wherever the evidence should take it, and that's an absolute guiding principle of the inquiry.
Final question, Alex Davis-Jones.
Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we are joined in the gallery by Lisa Phillips, a British survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific and despicable trafficking and abuse. Lisa's bravery is to be commended, and her determination for justice and accountability on behalf of all UK survivors should be put on record. And I want to place on record my thanks to you, Mr. Speaker, for meeting with Lisa this week. Your solidarity means more than you will ever know. So in that vein, will the Prime Minister please commit to meet with Lisa and the other British survivors and commit to what is needed, a full public inquiry, so we can have the truth, justice and accountability.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank you for raising this really important issue and drawing it to the House's attention, and I'm glad that we're joined in the gallery today. It is really important that we keep our focus on violence against women and girls, and I'll make sure the meetings she requested are set up.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over.